Hi everyone, I'm Letitia, a PMM at UpGuard, and I'm joined by Lisa, our product manager for vendor risk. Vendor onboarding is one of those processes that every organization relies on, and almost every security team feels friction in. Procurement is measured on time to value. InfoSec is accountable for exposure. Both priorities are valid, but when intake isn't structured, speed slows down and risk increases. When requests come through multiple channels, key context gets lost, and conversations run in parallel. Security teams often have to reconstruct the original intent before they can even begin assessing vendors, which makes everything downstream more complex and time consuming. Intake is often where the first bottleneck begins. Over the past few months, we've been beta testing a new vendor onboarding portal feature with customers. Next week, we're releasing it to all eligible customers. So today, Lisa and I are going to walk you through how the onboarding portal turns intake into a structured control point, helping teams move faster while strengthening program governance. Lisa, how about we dive straight into a demo, starting with how organizations can enable the portal once it goes live next week?
Thanks so much, Letitia. So setup's actually really lightweight and just takes a few minutes. So in settings, vendor onboarding, the first step is to configure your onboarding questionnaire. So that's really the engine behind your intake, and that captures the context that security teams need to determine the level of assessment needed for a vendor. So for existing customers, you'll recognize this as your relationship questionnaire rebranded and uplifted for intake. So your existing logic and content will all carry through automatically. If you've already set this up, you can skip this step. The exact same goes for automation rules. If you set them up, you can skip this step also effectively. So effectively you can skip straight to setting up the portal itself. So to activate the portal, you do so using this toggle. So that generates a dedicated intake URL, which is your single entry point for vendor requests, which is needed to set up access for users outside of the platform. Alternatively, you can set up a custom domain, a branded link, which sits on your own company's domain and goes a really long way to building trust with your internal teams. So with a custom or our default domain, you can embed this link wherever your vendor work happens now. So whether that's procurement forms, intranet pages, contract workflows, the goal is to make that the default page for all intake where that begins. So the next step there is to keep this secure. So you need to whitelist specific domain emails and add those to your allowed list. So that ensures you're not just opening up an unauthenticated endpoint, you're giving your business a self-service path while maintaining strict control over who can submit those requests. Lastly, you can configure your outcome labels. We do have defaults, but you can customize up to 5 of these to match your own internal onboarding taxonomy and workflows. So that creates a shared language with you and your procurement teams and sets a foundation for being able to automate downstream workflows also. So really powerful for integration using labels that match your existing procurement or ERP systems. You can use our API then to trigger automated workflows such as approvals based on the risk level and outcome determined here.
Amazing. So we have configured our questionnaire and automation rules. We've enabled the portal and created our custom domain, and we've defined our outcome labels. So that is all of our setup done. We are ready to start receiving requests. That was very simple. Can we have a look at the end-to-end request workflow, please, Lisa?
So once you're on the form, your business user simply responds to the questionnaires, providing all the context you need up front. So you don't need to chase them for basic details outside of the platform. It's all captured here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in.
Amazing. And Lisa, while I give you a couple of moments to fill that form in, I just want to do a quick shout out that just like our business users, there is no licensing fee or user limit. So you can really scale the adoption of the onboarding portal across your entire organization, whether you have 5 or 500 people submitting requests.
Great. So once submitted, your business owner receives automatic updates as their review progresses, saving everyone the manual follow-up there. I'm going to switch now to the analyst view on platform. So every onboarding request will now appear in this centralized queue. And when looking through that request, you can see all the information that was submitted by the requester there, who submitted it, any responses they provided within the form, and also information about any automations that were detected based on their responses. You'll also notice that there's an opportunity for collaboration there. So analysts can communicate directly with business users who request via that messages. And you can also add additional collaborators here to if you want to extend the conversation to people outside of that group and copy them in responses. That means it's really centralizing that collaboration, so both sides are working off that single source of truth. So from here, analysts can assign and prioritize and move that request into review. So you can assign a due date, a priority, and that gives a requester instant visibility into exactly who's handling their ticket alongside any automated status updates. If the vendor doesn't require assessment, you can simply go ahead and finalize that request by assigning an outcome. Otherwise, if you are going to go ahead and assess that vendor, you can do so. That will basically let you know that in the case of an unmonitored vendor, we'll go ahead and monitor them, as well as let you know which automations will be applied. Then you can go ahead and assess that vendor however you usually would, whether that be reviewing their security posture, conducting a risk assessment, or whatever your process requires. So once you've completed that assessment, you can then go back to your assessment request and go ahead and complete that request and assign an outcome with the requester notified automatically. So you do that here. You can also link your final risk assessment directly to that request, creating a defensible audit trail and sharing that with the requester. It's also worth noting that if you've got multiple requests and engagement for that same vendor, separate onboard requests can be added for that single vendor, and you can track them independently if needed. So that's it. As you can see, a much more streamlined experience for managing and conducting vendor assessments.
Amazing. It is definitely a massive shift in the right direction and a huge uplift to onboarding governance with customers' programs. Our beta customers have reported some really amazing outcomes from using the onboarding portal, from faster onboarding through to improved risk visibility and greater cross-department collaboration just from using it in these first few months, which is absolutely fantastic. And to think this is only phase one, Lisa, what additional capabilities should customers expect to see in future releases?
Thanks, Letitia. You've had some great engagement and feedback from our beta customers. So lots of exciting things to come. One notable one is to build out the portal to help embed it in broader procurement workflows. So to do this, we're going to look at extending API coverage and also leveraging risk automations to automate touch points and approval workflows. So a really exciting addition that I'm sure will be welcomed by many customers.
Excellent. And on that note, look, we just want to thank every single one of our early release customers for testing and helping to build this with us. We could not have done it without you. Again, a reminder, we are on track for general availability next week. So for customers on professional plans and above, you'll see this in your account automatically. But remember, you do need to follow the steps to configure it. And for starter plan customers, this is available as an add-on. So now is the perfect time to reach out to your CSM to learn more. Keep an eye on the release notes, check out the tips and resources that we'll be sharing with you in the chat, and reach out to your CSM for any additional help that you need. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing more of your feedback once this goes to general availability next week.